terminology for law enforcement continuing education?
You know what? I tell you what. While we're waiting, Marshall, did you want to? You might have some questions that you might want to go ahead and get started with, and then before he actually goes into the presentation.
I think I have my questions answered. I understand there are some courses that are approved with TCOL in Texas that will be able to allow our political subdivision clients to log on and get their officers their continuing education they require.
That's exactly it, and I'm glad you mentioned that. What I'll do is I'll also pull up those reference materials that we have approved, so we can take a look at that, and specifically for Texas, and kind of pick up and go from there as well. So we'll reference that once we dive in here, and also show you guys, how certain things are referenced within the system in regards to how we either submit to TCOL for the continuing education credit, how we identify users as TCOL certified officers by obtaining their PID numbers if required, and all that good stuff.
Okay, that's what we're looking forward to being able to pass to our clients.
Outstanding, outstanding.
I guess I could have sat down and said that, but I move the phone over.
And Greg, I'll leave it up to you whenever you want me to kick this off. I know we got this scheduled at 10:30, but I'm not tied to any limitations, so we can, if need be, go above and beyond that, and it's not a problem on our end either.
So we're waiting, I guess, for the El Paso folks.
Stand up, don't they can hear you.
Now, you folks in the San Angelo office, you're going to have to give everyone else grief for letting them know you were the first one on and ready to get going on this.
It looks like we may be the last ones on as well.
I don't know if our El Paso brethren forgot or got busy or what the deal was.
Yeah, it's one thing about these conference calls. They're sometimes they just, we miss a beat, or we run into this just about every day on our end, so it's definitely common.
El Paso maybe wait 10 o'clock.
Looks like someone else just joined.
Yep, Keith is with us. Keith, do you know if the El Paso folks were going to be on this call today?
I don't know if Keith is on the call yet. We'll hear a ding once he calls in, and
okay.
Looks like he's seeing the screen, but can't hear anybody yet.
I had a meeting with the library board yesterday.
Hello?
Hey, excuse me. Hey, Greg. Keith Montgomery signing in late.
My apologies. I jumped away, and Pride More, and some of the gentlemen out there that way are just logging in. So once you see them hit the screen here, why don't we go ahead and kick off the presentation?
Perfect. Looks like we got one more joining up right now.
Yeah, and several people are listening in on that same line. I haven't called in yet, but so once you see that phone go active, why don't you just go ahead and get started? All right, here we go. Well,
sounds good.
I'll just say I'm going to introduce Tony Green. Tony works for localgov.u, and so I'm going to I'll just run with it, Tony.
That sounds great. Well, thank you guys for joining us this morning. I do appreciate you taking the time to jump in here. We've been working closely with both Greg and Emily now for the last couple of months leading up to this point, and it's ultimately what we're doing is we're announcing at this point the new USI Online Learning Center. Hey, good morning, Perry. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Really what we're doing. Good morning. All right. So really what this program is, LocalGov.u, and let me just give you some background on who we are, what we do, and who we service for that matter. LocalGov.u provides over roughly about 380 online training resources specifically written for government entities. That's ranging from everything from human resources, to safety and environmental, law enforcement, corrections, you name it, and we work nationwide. So primarily we work with insurers like USI as well as various risk pools around the United States to provide our services really as a value-added service to the members that you guys serve. It's an outlet to obtain continuing education, just online training, whether that's meeting very specific mandates. Sorry, you'll see the screen changing every now and again, but we'll jump back here. So beyond just the mandates, whether that be the ongoing harassment training that's required, or various diversity, whatever the training needs are, we like to think that we've got an option to cater to those members that need that training on an ongoing basis. So as we're going to go through this demo, what we're going to do is really showcase what this landing site looks like. We're going to take you through a tour of the learning management system itself. I will ask that as we're going through the demo, if you guys could just mute your phones until, if you got a question, I do encourage you to yell at me or feel free to interject at any given point in time. I feel that that's the best way to go about doing this and answering those questions that come up on the spot in regards, or rather than holding those off to the end. So we're going to jump right forward and just go head first right into this. What you all are looking at right here is the landing page that was developed in conjunction with or in partnership with USI, specifically working with Greg and Emily to create the verbiage. The images that you see here was all provided, in which case we just mocked this up. Now, what we refer to, and this is commonly called a portal page. Ultimately, what this is a landing site from our system, or whether that be your website, but a location for your members to log in and access an account that was created for them. Now, it is my understanding that I'll be working closely with you all, the producers, is an opportunity to, again, as this service is announced or offered or announced to your members, we'll be assisting you each and every step of the way. Everything from creating the member entity accounts, identifying who that primary contact is. You all also have a dedicated account manager that will be assigned to this account as well as to service your members, and his name is Steve DeStacy. Steve is, I believe, on the call right now, and he's probably sitting in the background silent for that matter, but Steve is your go-to guy, and you can rest assured that he is going to take the best care of your members moving forward. Steve has a lot of experience working with organizations. He alone oversees roughly about 3,000 municipalities that they service on an ongoing basis across our risk pools and our insurance programs that we provide here. So he's got a lot of experience working with local government entities, the members that we serve moving forward. But the ultimate goal here is moving forward, when a member expresses interest in getting this set up, we're going to go through a very structured process. Just one second, I got another call coming in harassing me, so we're not going to take that off there. But that structured process is going to consist of you, the producers, notifying myself and Steve when a new member entity wants to be set up. And what we'd like to obtain from you is the name of that entity and really the name of a key or primary contact within that organization. It might be that person who expressed the interest up front, or maybe they've got a training coordinator on staff within the department that you serve that are really going to be headlining this program. From that point forward, what we do is we will set up the account for that entity. We will also, or Steve will be contacting that member entity directly to assist them in getting set up, from adding employees or staff into the training program to providing them with a complete demo, much like we're going to conduct here in just a second. Additionally, Kissy Fairchild is our Director of Sales. She's also the sales representative for this program in particular. So she will be working with the member entities as well to assist them in developing or understanding what programs are really going to meet their specific needs. And really what we like to do is conduct a very thorough needs assessment within each organization to understand what their high priority training needs are. Again, maybe that's maybe it's something they want to put in place for a new employee orientation or disciplinary procedures, or just an opportunity to complete some of the ongoing training requirements within that entity or within the state, whether that be harassment, diversity training, bloodborne pathogens, or slip, trips, and falls. These are kind of some of those common requests that we receive. Once that point, or once we've reached that point, it's really up to the member entities themselves to order or purchase this training for their entity. The great thing about this system is it does provide the ability to purchase for very specific or one-off training needs. Maybe they have something that they only need a handful of employees to go through the training program or get caught up, or they want to implement a training program citywide for all of their employees. We'll work with them to really assess what those needs are. Because they are USI members, they do receive an upfront 25% discount off the training courses. So each and every course itself or training program is listed at $9 per course or per seat. So it's very, they get the discounted rate up front, and there are also additional discounts in place or kind of purchasing tiers that can further provide more discounts on the overall training they're providing, oftentimes dropping the cost of the training courses depending on the size of the entity or the bulk purchase that they're doing, down to roughly $3 and $4 per user. So there's a lot of great opportunities to get on here and utilize the program. So I'm going to quit yapping about that, but before we jump into the system, any questions from what I've covered so far or what we're going to be discussing here this morning? Perfect. Sometimes silence is golden. This is one of those situations. So we're going to jump in and just give you guys a look at the learning management system itself, answering again any questions you have about navigating through the system or how your members will be able to interact with this. Also, please note, we'll be working with both Greg and Emily. We are going to grant you all 100% access to the complete system itself. So you're going to have 100% access to all of the current course offerings that are available. And the idea and the concept behind this is we want to give you all the capability to go in, try the system out, click buttons, navigate through it, take some of the courseware, get a better understanding of how the system functions, what course offerings are available, so you're that much more informed with what training opportunities are available for your staff, for your members, and you know, you can speak knowledgeably about the program itself when you're encouraging your members to take advantage of it. So again, this is that landing page. We'll be providing this information. The initial idea is to host this at some point. We're still kind of working through where this link may or may not be hosted right away, but ultimately we'll be giving and providing your members with this landing page and this link to allow them to log in and access the training itself. Once a user logs into the training material, they're presented with a welcome screen. This is the screen that we're looking at right here up front. Please note that by the end of this week, we should have some of this, the picture graphics here swapped out, as well as some of the verbiage. But please understand that each and every time that a user logs into the training material, they are greeted with this welcome screen. And this welcome screen is really designed to, one, understand that you are the correct user logging in here. If you saw a different name here, you may have entered the wrong credentials or somehow ended up in the wrong location. But ultimately, each user sees this when they log in the material itself. On the same screen, you've got a variety of options that are available to you as a user. Now, you're also, as we go through this demo, you're going to hear me refer to two kind of common terms. One is users, and the other is administrators. Administrators are often referenced as those key contacts within an organization or the department heads within an entity that will be really taking this training and run with it, getting it organized for their staff, ordering training content, and so on. So what we see here is really the simple breakdown of from a user logging in the materials to where they can go to access the training that is made available to them. Keep in mind, administrators will always dictate what an end user has access to for their entity. Now, because this is set up as a test account or a USI staff account, again, we have granted you all access to everything that is available through this program. So when a user sees this screen, they can either click to view their current progress or certificates earned. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like. Right now, again, because you have access to over 380 courses, there's a lot of information here. Most users or most entities are not going to have all this access unless they decide they want the full gamut of what's available and they decide to purchase that. But ultimately, this screen is presented to show you the current access that you have, and that's what we're looking at here. We're viewing the current USI Online Learning Center progress for the courses that this user has been assigned. We can also see all completed courses. What this is a page that shows us the lifeline of the program itself for this user. So we are required to, by both state law and national standards, to ensure that we keep stringent documentation on any and all training that's being conducted, and we maintain these results indefinitely. It's always going to be here. 5 years from now, your training progress that you took today is always going to be showcased and relevant and visible in this location. This is also a situation where a user can also go back and see, if they're conducting a lot of training through the program, maybe they've already completed some content this year and they would just want to check their current progress, they can also find that here. Lastly, this is a location where they can view their certificates of completion. I'm going to pull this up on the screen here so we can see what that looks like, make that a little bit bigger. But ultimately what this is each user is provided with a certificate of completion upon completing or passing a training course. Just some key points about training activity and what it takes for a user to pass the material. The majority of the content that we provide is really written for the adult learner in mind. They're short format, anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes in length. That does include the time that it takes to participate with the exam that's at the end of each course. That's not to say that there are some courses that are a little bit longer, and those are really based on some state standards for that matter. In Texas, we have a handful of courses in regards to the state legalities training for that matter, and other course content that is a little bit more extended, roughly 2 and 3 hours in length sometimes. But again, the majority of the content roughly falls in that 30 to 45 minute that length. Also keep in mind from a user perspective, the system is really designed as a pace-yourself training program. What that means is it allows the user to go into the training material and navigate through that on their own. Before we jump into the training, I will just show you some of the other preferences or items that we're looking at here. The preferences section, this is really for a user to go through, and again, we can't see it for this demo account right now. But what this is a location for a user to go in. They can update their login credentials. If their email changed, they can update that information as well. But it's just a location where they can even go through, and if they weren't too pleased with the color scheme or blue and white wasn't their favorite colors, they could go through and update, so to speak, the theme of this training account in particular. But beyond that, it's very straightforward. A user logs in, they click the link that they want to see to navigate through their training, and at that point, here we are. This is the course selection page for an end user. Now keep in mind, our system is really designed to identify very specific state guidance. So this account, and we had set this up as a demo account the last time we reviewed this, but we set this up as an account, for instance, in the state of Missouri. We will revert this back to Texas, but ultimately we wanted to showcase how the system recognizes where a user is accessing that program from. And if an entity creates their account, it recognizes very state-specific instructions that are provided in our system. So in Missouri, for instance, it provides the Missouri Post-Approved Course List. That is the courses that are recognized for the Continuing Education Board for law enforcement. In Texas, it's going to be visible if there is a TCOL approval course list that's available for end users to view and interact with. Really, we want to give as much information to those end users as possible so they have an idea of what is going to be available to them to utilize or to obtain their continuing education hours. Additionally, at this point here, we've got the opportunity to really, I guess you could say, draw back on the courses that are available below for a user to choose. Again, keep in mind this is a test account, so there is a lot of training courses and content that's available here. And we are showcasing each and every course category that is relevant or offered through this program. So while you all will see this, most accounts are not going to have access to all this unless, of course, it was purchased by that entity. However, this is that location where I can decide what courses I want to view as opposed to having and seeing all courses to choose from. It'd be tough to find a topic out of 380 course topics that are available, so I want to narrow my search down to only those topics that are relevant to me. I choose those categories, I hit submit, and you're going to see that's going to draw back what is viewable for me to choose from. So I selected those 3 categories, and that's now what I have access to view. From a utilization perspective, all I have to do is click on the course title, and immediately that course is going to prompt for me. So let's find one that we want to talk about here. We'll go down to HR, and let's take a look at sexual harassment training. Keep in mind we have a lot of harassment courses that are available here, very specific to either the state of California, specific to other states or state requirements for that matter. So you're going to see an abundance of content again that varies based on the very specific state needs. Let's go ahead and check one of these out though so we can take a look here and see what that looks like. We'll say sexual harassment awareness for managers. Now again, once I click this course, I'm going to turn off the feedback there, the volume feedback. Go back into here. Once I jump into this, you'll notice that course immediately prompts for me. You'll also notice that you probably heard some of that feedback the moment that I clicked on this. Why that is and what makes this program so great is the fact that we host any and all materials, so to speak, whether that be video content, audio content, or anything that generally would slow down or use up the bandwidth of a location where they're accessing this training. And the reason for that is we host everything on our own servers, including the media content that we utilize. So what that means for an end user is there's no bandwidth issues taking place here. Everything is immediately loaded and already accessible for the end user to take advantage of, meaning there's no loading times for the video content that's provided. It's not reaching out to YouTube and trying to stream content from another location. It's all hosted within our own environment, which means it significantly cuts back on the bandwidth usage and generally items that traditionally would slow down an organization if 50 of their employees were taking training at one time. Also, again, we discussed that navigation through the system, designed as a pace yourself program. We really look to provide the meat and potatoes of content for that matter, what is the most relevant to that end user and to ensure that they get the most out of the training content in a quick and easy time period that it takes to navigate through the training. We also take a very blended learning method or a blended learning approach when it comes to the content we provide.
Okay, and Tony,
yes,
you know, I know, you know, several of the people I talked to were going to have to jump off, so I wanted to make sure that we discussed, you know, go for it. Okay, how do I get this to my client? What, you know, what's the process? So why don't you just, if you could address that, and please, anybody that's on the line, if you have any questions, please ask Tony.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I could start talking and talking and talking, so I appreciate the heads up there. ultimately, the next step in the process, aside from the training content itself, which you guys are going to have access to, there is an admin function within this system. We had briefly touched on that by identifying who those key administrators are, what they're looking for, and how they access and control their accounts. Again, this is going to be provided as a one-on-one demo to your members as well once we start setting them up. But also just to give you just a brief overview here, ultimately the center of this screen tells you exactly what these functions and tools on the left-hand side of the page can do for you. Starting with users and groups all the way down to get certificates, we try to make that information as relevant as possible right up front, and it takes the guesswork out of this. Ultimately, users and groups, that's used to organize staff into various groups or departments within their account.
Tony, my apologies. What I wanted to, because these are the producers and they have clients that we want to add to this list of, a list of clients that will actually begin adding to this website. So
sure.
The process I was talking about is, getting the names, the contact information, and
gotcha.
how are they going to get that to Emily and I, and then we'll get that to you.
Perfect, perfect. Well, the turnaround time is very quick. More or less, we guarantee within 24 hours, once we obtain the information that we need, we'll actually have that account set up, and we'll have a contact already in place to reach out and discuss this program. So the way that we see this program rolling out is when a member entity of yours expresses interest in their training program, we are going to send you, and Greg and Emily, I will email both of you Steve's direct contact information. Again, his name is Steve DeStacy. He is your dedicated account manager. His sole purpose is to assist from setting up the accounts for your member entities, reaching out to them to describe the program, and getting them set up, or their employees set up within the system. So the process is going to be threefold here. When a member entity expresses the interest that they want to utilize the program or at least see what's available to them, they do not have to purchase, and this is important to note. If they are interested in getting set up with an account or viewing the training materials, we are going to grant them access to test materials they can try out. It is our goal to let those end members understand what viable training options are available to them and give them that opportunity to participate in the programs. So the three-step process is, once you are notified, Greg, it sounds as if you want them to funnel that information through you first, meaning the member entity name, as well as the key contact or contacts within that organization who are interested or have expressed the interest in getting set up with this program. Once that's done, you're also going to have, and again, Greg and Emily, I'll email you both Steve's direct contact information to pass out to producers as well. But with that, you'll have Steve's direct contact information the moment he is provided with the member entity name, the key contact, and ideally an email or a phone number. The rest is going to be handled from us. What we do at that point is, once we obtain that information, the second step in that process is Steve DeStacy is going to create that account for that member entity. That is going to be hosted again through this landing page, and at that point he organizes the materials. He's going to reach out to that key contact within the organization, and he's going to provide them with 3 items. The first item is where they can go and access this training. The second item is what we refer to as an employee upload form. It's a very basic Excel spreadsheet that they can fill out and return to us in order to get their staff added to the system. And then lastly, that third process more than anything is setting up or scheduling a time to demo this program with those contacts. So he's going to reach out to them via a phone call and an email, letting them know that, hey, we've got your account created. Here's your login credentials. Let's set up a time to go in and navigate through the program or answer any questions they have. And that goal is really to assist.
Please?
Yes, sir.
Question, please. Is the
Absolutely.
caller, is Steve going to identify himself as localgov.u or USI?
He would actually represent USI on that. So it's Steve DeStacy via or with the USI Online Learning Center.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, sir. So yeah, we do that with all of our partner accounts. We have roughly about 58 current partner accounts that we do this with. So we represent ourselves as the organization, let them know that this is Steve with USI Online Learning Center, and at that point, we get the conversation started at that point. Now, granted, the emails that might be sent will represent or have the local GovU email tagline, but beyond that, everything in the communication that we provide is titled via the subject line, USI Online Learning Center. The same thing applies when Steve introduces himself to the end members. But from that point forward, it falls into the members' lap. We give them all the tools that they need to make a viable decision on what training is most relevant to their organization and assist them each and every step of the way. There's multiple payment methods, so they can either pay by credit card online to gain access to the training material right away, or they can choose to print an invoice directly from the system if they need to go through a purchase order process. Again, we'll work with those entities to ensure that they have all the information they need. Sometimes for larger entities, they require a W-9 to put on file for purchasing needs. And again, we've got all the information we need to provide either the purchasing agent or whomever is going through the training progress. Lastly, more than anything, is a reports page that you guys will all have access to at any given point that allows you to see the overall activity being conducted here. Once members are set up, if you would like, and it's something that we haven't identified quite yet, but if you are the representative or the producer for a specific member, and if you would like to be CC'd on the initial communication once we get that started, just let us know. Whether it's you passing Steve and I along the information to set up that account, if you want to be continually updated or in the know, I would just request that you identify that, or talk with Steve and say, let me know if anything comes up or if they decide to purchase. But our goal is to work with you as well as and as close as we do with your members, and it's our number one goal to ensure that they've got the information they need to have a successful training program.
Okay. One last thing I'd like you to do, actually, rather than Emily and I creating a form for you to use, and I know you have some of your own forms that you need as far as the necessary information to get an account added.
Sure.
If you would send me an email today with an Excel spreadsheet with the contact information that would be needed, I'll send it to everybody that was on the call today. And they can, if they have some clients that they'd like to, have access to this platform, then they can submit that information and we can get the ball rolling.
Outstanding. And one last thing to keep in mind on that, please do let your members know. We do grant them kind of trial access to the training as well. Since your members are going to be purchasing this directly, we will give them trial access. They've got the opportunity. So if you can obtain any information up front, hey, this member's interested in HR or harassment training, we can get that set up front for your members. So when they log in, they can try it out immediately and have access to that to make a decision on how they want to move forward.
And Tony, during that trial access, will they be able to see what the actual course costs are going to be?
Absolutely, and that's always going to be visible right here in the course library. To make it easy for everyone, everything is $9. Every single course that we offer here, the starting rate is $9 per course or per seat. One thing to keep in mind, and just to provide quick clarification on that, if you had 5 employees that need to conduct harassment training, you would pay $9 for each employee to utilize that program. Again, there's going to be additional volume discounts that are provided, and that information is relayed to that end user or that member, letting them know what information or discounts they have in place just based on their specific training needs.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And that would actually conclude this call for right now. Again, we've got this recorded, so Greg and Emily, I'll share this with you all as well, and then again, we'll work with you individually. I'd like to go ahead and just give you guys mine and Steve's information. I'm going to plug this into the chat section, so you guys will all see this when it pops up. But I'm going to write my name and contact information here. But that way, if you got any additional questions following this call, please feel free to give myself or Steve DeStacy a call. We'll be happy to talk to you about the program and walk you through any additional questions you might have.
And Tony, this is Steve. Will you provide my phone number as well?
Absolutely.
Great.
All right. Any other questions before we start wrapping this up? Again, I'll have this information plugged in here in just a second.
Can we get to this?
Go ahead.
Can we get to this site and demo it to the clients today?
Yes, sir. If you'd like to, you can go ahead and send me your information. Again, you're going to have that. Just shoot me over an email or your contact information. We will get you added to this account. Again, this account is specifically for USI staff, and we'll give you guys access to complete this right now. I just plugged that information into the chat box here. You guys should see a notification or something. Again, I can even give it over the phone. My email address.
Hey Tony, if you would send me an email, and I'll just, I'll forward it to everybody, and
Great.
also attach that, like I said, that Excel spreadsheet, so that people can begin adding clients that they know would have interest in this.
That sounds great. We'll get that right out the door following this call.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you guys all again. I appreciate you joining us, and certainly look forward to working with you guys from this point moving forward and serving your members as well as your specific needs. But please don't hesitate to ask us if you have any questions moving forward. That's exactly what we're here for, and looking forward to it.
Thank you,
all
Tony.
Right. Thank you all for joining the call.
Thanks, Greg.
Take care, y'all.